Can you have too little or too much levodopa? And how do you know when you've crossed the line? I thought more pills meant more control until dizziness and exhaustion hit me hard. No one warned me, and it nearly knocked me flat. So, if you ever questioned your meds or wondered if your dose is truly helping you, this video is for you.
They told him he had 5 good years left. That was 15 years ago. He's still standing, still speaking, still living. This is Living with Parkinson's, the good, the bad, and the reality. A podcast about what happens when life throws you something incurable, and you fight back anyway. Hosted by Bryce Perry. Diagnosed at 40, 15 years into the battle. This is the truth behind the tremor. Let's begin.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here. If you're new here, my name is Bryce, and I was diagnosed with Parkinson's at the age of 40, and I've been living with this thing now for 15 years. I also serve as the Associate Director of Community Outreach Engagement with Parkinson Canada. So what you'll hear on this channel is a mix of personal experience and professional insight with someone who's living it day to day and working to support others across the country. And this isn't just a podcast, it's a community. So whether you're newly diagnosed or you're many years into this battle or you're a caregiver or just someone trying to understand Parkinson better, this space is for you. We're all figuring it out together with honesty and with heart and sometimes with a little humor, just sometimes. And if that sounds like something you need, then hit the subscribe button and let's dive into this video. All right, let's start with something that most people don't realize. Okay, can you take too much levodopa? There is no universal maximum dose of levodopa. Now, I've heard people they've come up to me and said, I'm on my maximum dose. I'm really scared because it's not working that well and I can't take any more. And I'm like, well, what are you taking? They're like, well, I take like 6 a day. And I'm like, oh, okay, wow. That's about a third of what I take. So, but there is no universal maximum dose for levodopa. Now, I know people who take just a few pills a day. Right. And I know people like myself who take it every 3 hours and take it, 4 times, or 3 or 4 pills every 3 hours. Right. I know some people that take it every 2 hours all day long. And all of them can be right. If they're working for that person. So how do you know when it's too much or how do you know when it's too little? Well, for me, it was when I thought I was doing the right thing by taking an extra dose before a speaking event. I figured that this is early on in my journey. I figured that the more pills meant more control over my body, right? About 20 minutes in, my body said otherwise. I got dizzy. I lost focus. I was sweating through my shirt. And honestly, I was just trying to make it to the end of the talk without collapsing, right? And that was a wake-up call for me, a massive wake-up call for me. So let's talk about this. Why does the right dose matter? Okay, so if you're taking a dose so small that it barely does anything, then why are you bothering taking it at all? And then someone will say, well, what is small? What is large? Well, again, let me re-say what I just said. What if I said it this way? If you're taking levodopa and it barely is doing anything to you and your symptoms, then why are you taking it? Now, I know that might sound really harsh, okay? So hear me out, please. I'm actually a nice guy, but I know that sounds really harsh, okay? But hear what I'm going to say. The goal of levodopa isn't just to take the edge off your symptoms. It's to actually help you function for the day. What's that? Okay, I'll say it again. The goal of levodopa isn't just to take the edge off your symptoms. It's to help you function, to help you move, to help you live your life. Right? So here's the bottom line. We want to take the least amount necessary. Absolutely. The least amount necessary, but not so little that we're stuck in a body that won't cooperate with us. That may be noble, right? You may think it's noble, but it's not noble. It's unnecessary suffering. Now, I'll say this really clearly. Please don't ever change your dose without talking to your doctor or healthcare provider. I want to be really clear about that. I'm not advocating for you to start doing what I do, right? But here's what I want you to do. I want you to not be afraid to speak up if your meds aren't doing enough for you, or if you feel like they're doing too much for you, right? So if you're feeling like I'll get into what you're going to feel like, but if you feel that there's hardly a change or a small change, right? Or a change that's still, you're taking levodopa every day, you're getting up, you're battling, you're exercising, you're doing your thing, right? And you still are struggling. It still hurts. You're still in pain. You're still, just so stiff that you can barely move, or you can only get, an hour, a good hour, and then you're so stiff again, or you're having trouble speaking after an hour, then you need to advocate for yourself, right? Don't be afraid to speak up and say these meds aren't doing enough, right? Again, or if you feel like doing too much. But again, you have to speak up for yourself. See, it took me like a year to find my balance, a year of experimenting and testing with my doctor, okay? Right? With my doctor to get the right where I was going. So when I first started on levodopa, okay, it took me that whole year because here's the thing: you're not just trying to figure out the right dose. You're trying to figure out the right timing, right, and the right combination of both, right? The right dose at the right time, right, and how much that is. I worked with my neurologist very closely, like adjusting here, lowering there, adding something else to it to make it last longer, to make it get into my body faster, right? And we had some setbacks, right? Some combos made me really sleepy, right? Others caused me the stiffness to creep back really fast. But eventually we found something that worked for me. And guess what? A year later, no, like a year and a half after that, Parkinson's had changed. So I had to change with it. Huh. Really? Yes. You have to you have to really understand this, and I want to emphasize this today. Parkinson's is a progressive disease. Let's just cut to the chase. It's a progressive disorder. It's a progressive disease. And that means, right? That means that what works for you right now is not going to work for you down the road. Now, I don't know if it's going to be a year from now. It could be 6 months from now. It could be 3 months from now. It could be a month from now. It could be 5 years from now. But as your Parkinson's progresses, your medication needs to evolve with it and progress with it. Your dose will likely increase with as your Parkinson's increases, right? And you may have to shift your timings. I talked about this in my medication video. That I said like I had to decide whether I wanted to take more levodopa because I was taking at the time I was taking it every 4 hours. To what I was going to take more levodopa every 4 hours, or did I want to take a little bit less, a little bit less, right? So every 3 hours. For me, I tried it both ways. I thought, I felt about the same as taking, but so I thought overall I was saving myself. I was taking less levodopa in 3 hours than I was when I was taking it every 4 hours. So we went with the three. Okay. But it has to change. It's not going to be the same. So no matter where you're on your journey, if you just got diagnosed and maybe you're starting off and sometimes they'll start you off with a half a pill every 4 hours. And then maybe in a week later, you'll go up to a pill every 4 hours. Right. And then you come back and have that check in place and see how you're feeling and where you're at. And I told this story. I'm going to tell it again because it's very important. So I was going through this journey. It was like, half a pill every four, then a pill every four, and then a pill and a half every four. And he kept every time I'd phone him, I'm like, he goes, okay, how are you feeling? And I'm like, well, oh, okay. He goes, well, give me a percentage. Like, how do you feel compared to what you feel would be like the best? Let's say the best is 100%. How do you feel today? I'll be like 50%. He said, okay, the next week, let's go up another half a pill. No problem. So I went up there half a pill. How do you feel today? A week later or whatever it was. I think it was a week or 2 weeks later. How are you feeling now? Well, I'm feeling much better. But I'm about, I don't know, I'm going to say about 75%. He goes, okay, 70%. That's getting better. Let's go up another half a pill. Or it was a pill, or I can't remember. Anyway, I went up to that dose, and all of a sudden, I was like, man, I felt like I could run a marathon. I was just like, boom, there was stiffness. I take it in the morning. It was always crap in the morning, no matter what. But once I took my first dose, about 30 minutes later, I've got this 30-minute clock, man. I take that levodopa, 30 minutes later, it's like revolutionary for me. So 30 minutes after I took that first dose, I'm like, oh wow, look at this, my toes, straight. Wow, straight toes. My hands are straight and calm, and my body wasn't curled. I kind of got up, I'm like, oh man, and I'm like, this is amazing. Like I felt so good. I was so excited. I didn't wait for him to call me this time. I phoned him and I'm like, dude, doc, doctor, dude. I'm like, doctor, listen, you never believe this. You did it, man. I'm like saying to the doctor, you did it. You got this is amazing. I feel 100%. He said, that's great. He says, okay, now I want you to cut back half a pill back off of that. I said, pardon? And he goes like, take half a pill off. I'm like, why? We're here. I made it. I feel great. And he says, I don't want you to feel great. I want you to feel good. Like, why? Because again, I want the least amount of levodopa in your body, right? For the longest amount of time. So he said, I want you to always feel good. Like you're good. You're not going to lack. You're going to be able to get through the day. You're going to do the things you want to do today. That's where he wanted me to be, not wanted me euphoric, I guess. And, again, I tell the story and I was so mad. Like, I was just like, why? That's not fair. It's not fair. Why can't I be like everybody else? Why can't I feel great today? Why can't I be great? I mean, I'm great. Why can't I feel great? Huh. And now I look at myself 15 years later, and do I have, some dyskinesia? Absolutely, I have it, and I can let it rip today because it really wanted to run around today. I was really circling. I was doing my thing. I must have banged my microphone 17 times earlier before I recorded, as I was waiting for my levodopa to kick in. So, I've got it, but I manage it. Okay, I manage it. So let's repeat a couple of things here. Your medication needs will evolve, right? Your dose will likely increase. It's going to increase, right? And your timings may shift. And that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means the disease is doing what it does and you're adapting. So the best thing you do is stay tuned into your body, right? It's like the last podcast. Listen to your body and stay tuned in, right? And be honest. Stay honest and stay in conversation with your doctor. Okay, so let's look at some signs that you might be taking too much levodopa. Okay, so let me walk you through the top signs that I've personally experienced or I've seen in the community that are red flags or could be red flags that you're taking too much levodopa. And that's dyskinesia. So that uncontrolled movement, right? It's like that rolling, like you're rolling. It's not a shake. It's like you're rolling. Things are rolling. That type of thing. Your limbs or your head start twitching or swaying. Usually at your peak, right? So when you're at that peak dosage of what you're taking, if all of a sudden you're just things are going on and you're just now you're doing a lot of this, that's to me when I started doing this all the time. Every time I was taking my levodopa, then I cut it down a little bit. And once I cut it down, I realized I wasn't doing this as much, which was good. So again, that's the one thing that you can look at. Like, my foot once went into a full rhythm section at a dinner table, and I wasn't even tapping along. It was like I was just trying to sit still, and I couldn't move. Like my legs, my feet were just going crazy. And that's when I knew I was like, okay, this is a little too much. So we started cutting it back. Another thing that if could be a sign that you're taking too much levodopa is hallucinations or confusion. Okay, one time I thought Carmen was handing me pancakes, and she was actually handing me the TV remote, like right there. Like, whoa, right? And not dangerous, but a major signal that I needed to recheck my meds. Okay, so again, those delusions and confusion. Talked about this a lot too. Impulse control issues, right? Late night shopping, overeating, obsessive behaviors. You know what I'm talking about? Obsessive behaviors, right? And they're not just quirks, right? They're not quirks. Like they can be side effects, especially when you're overstimulated with dopamine. So just watch for those things. And again, that could be a lot of those add to medicines, right? Pramipixole, things like that, that could be doing that. But if you are feeling that you're out of control, right? That you're getting compulsive and obsessive and you're if you know what, I don't have to tell you what it is. We're all adults here. But if you're getting into that spot, it could be a sign that you need to either pare down something or slow down on your dopamine and check it out. And again, what's the worst thing that's going to happen if you try, right? What's the worst thing that's going to happen if you take one less levodopa at one time and you're like, oh, maybe a little bit more stiff, right? Okay. Or what if you take one more extra levodopa? Like, is this the worst thing? It's going to, or maybe you're going to see pancakes. But again, it's worth a try. And don't forget, it comes back down. Okay. One of the other things that I've experienced a lot when I knew I was taking too much was that orthostatic hypertension. I think that's how it's about orthostatic hypertension, which is the dizzy spells, right? Dizzy. Let's talk normal dizzy spells, right? So if you take a dose and you feel lightheaded, like when standing, that could be a blood pressure drop caused by too much all at once. So these are another signs that you might be taking too much. It could be just, again, you just every time you're just like, whoo, I'm ready to fall out, blood pressure drop, right? And then this one, it was really wild for me too, is sleepiness after I took my meds, right? I called it the levodopa slam, right? I'm having the levodopa slam. I take it. 30 minutes later, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like it's coming, it's kicking in. I'm feeling good. And then 45 minutes after that, I'm out cold. Like I'm out cold. And if it's happening consistently, that may mean that your peak dose is hitting too hard, too fast. Okay. So again, you're looking for that peak dose, right? What do I mean by peak dose? Okay. So figure out where your peak times are in your dosing. So if you take your medication every 3 hours, like me, so I take my medication every 3 hours. Okay. And I know it takes 30 minutes to kick in. So at 30 minutes, right, to kick in, and I know it's starting to wear off at the 3 hour mark. What the peak is like right in the middle. So whatever that middle spot is for you, that's that peak dose. That's when if you're taking too much or too little, or sorry, if you're taking too much, that's when the major signs are going to happen, right? That you're taking too much, a lot, or that everything's going to kick in. That's kind of where it's going to be. It's going to lead up to it, but that's the main spot you want to look for. And then, if you are a regular of this podcast, you know what we do next. We journal this down. We write it down. We're like, hey, at this time, after this dose, this is how I was feeling. I feel dizzy again. I wanted to pass out. Huh. Do it again. It happened again. It could be a one off. So I don't do one offs, right? I watch the one offs. I listen to my body for those one offs. But now when it's a habit, every time that I do this, this happens, or every second time, or even every second time is enough. So I realize that, okay, it's becoming a pattern. Now I need to look at it, right? So you have to be like, you're the one living in your body. Think about this. You're the one living in your body, not your doctor. Your doctor brings the medical knowledge, but you need to bring the lived experience. And together that makes a team, right? So speak up, ask questions, track how you feel. And if something feels off, don't settle. Stop settling. If you're just trying to survive, then you're if you're not just trying to survive, you're trying to function, to live your life, right? Don't just try to survive. Don't just try to survive. Try to function, to live your life, to be there for your family, to do the things that matter, right? More isn't always better, but less isn't noble if it leaves you struggling. The goal is to function. The goal is freedom, and I want you to be free. Hallelujah. Somebody give me an amen for that. Hey, listen, if this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Here's what I want to hear. What has your levodopa journey been like? Have you ever had to adjust or advocate for a better dose? Right? When was it? Did you have to advocate? You have to say, this is what I need to try. I need to try this. You need to be your manager. You're the manager. You got to manage this thing, man. Right? You check in with the doctor. Here's what's happening. This is what's happening. Here's what I'm thinking. I should maybe try a little bit more. He'll say, okay, or he or she, let's try it out. But you wait to see how you're doing. It's not, remember, if you watched the last episode, if you haven't, go back and watch it. There is no maximum dose. So you try little bit, little bit, little bit until it works better. Okay? Why am I saying all this? Why am I looking harsh? I'm getting mean. It's because I love you, because I am with you, because we are in this together. We all got this shitty disease. Let's just be honest. We got it. But let's try to live the best we can, and let's fight for ourselves and fight for each other and become a voice, right? So if you like that, if you're part of that, you want to be this, you want to go deeper than this, I got this inner circle, right? Live calls. It's like a support group. We do monthly calls, and we have a community where we post things. We can talk. We can help each other. And there's a link in the description below. And that's it. I want to thank all of you, each and every one of you. Thank you for watching, or thank you for listening. And listen, I'm going to thank you in advance for this. Thank you for being your own best advocate. And I'll see you in the next episode. Whew.